Hey guys, Kevin Smock with Smock Knives. Let's do another sharpening video. I've been on kind of a quest lately of finding, I wouldn't say the perfect method of knife sharpening, because so far I have yet to find the perfect method of knife sharpening. So I'm just trying to find one that fits my needs. And in my quest I've done, the 1x30s, I've done 2x72, I've done the Wicked Edge, which is still currently my favorite. And then I bought one of these. The brand on this, who knows? It's some Chinese brand, but it's pretty much a similar designed unit as like the Tormek. And the Tormeks are way better machines than this. I can just tell by looking at YouTube videos. I don't own one, I haven't bought one. So this isn't a review of this machine in comparison to that one, because I can't do a review or a comparison because I don't have it. But there are a lot of other brands that have recently come out and started making these. I think Wen is making one. I think even Grizzly.com's got one. There's several others. You just got to look at eBay. But this video is more of the concept of this type of machine, whether this is right for you or not. Just for my quick using this machine a couple of times and finding some things that I don't like about it, and I want you guys to be aware of it before you go off and order one. If there are things that you can handle, or if it fits your needs, then this might be a great machine for you. For me, I'll tell you right now, it's not. I've already got it up for sale. Pretty much just selling what I got into it. It's pretty much brand new. But the concept behind this is that you've got a stone grinding wheel and a leather strop, which in theory, to me, I love that idea, because leather strop, get rid of the burr, the stone. I always like sharpening on stones. Even as a kid, using whetstones to sharpen knives. I like the feedback that you get from using a stone. I like the edge that you can get from using a stone. The problem that I have with this one is that it's a wheel, and we'll get into that in a minute. The Tormek systems are a lot more expensive. They're anywhere between like $500 and $1,200, depending on what kind of stones you get. The bonus with that system is that you can get different stones, and I do believe that you could probably put this stone or one of those stones on here, but seeing how I don't have one of those stones, I don't know for sure, because I don't know if the center hole is the same. So just beware that you might not be able to. A couple of the benefits of this, or even this style, like I said, is you can get different stones. You can even get a Japanese whetstone for the Tormek, which from what I'm hearing leaves a really great finished edge, polished, which is kind of what I originally planned. If I like this system, that I was going to replace this wheel out, put a different wheel on it, but I don't like the system as a whole, and I'll get into that in a minute. So pretty much I think this was more designed for sharpening wood making tools, chisels, that kind of thing. Even this unit here, it only comes with one guide tool, and it's pretty much made for holding flat things like a chisel. So you would put a chisel in here this way, and then you could slide it on here, and you can go, actually it probably needs to go the other direction. Then you could move the tool back and forth on the stone and keep it nice and parallel and level, which I was hoping would even be good for like my Warncliffe, my SK23s and stuff like that have a flat edge on them. But again, after using it, I'm not liking it. So the good parts, again, you can get different stones. There is a water trough here, so when you turn it on, the stone is water cooled, so your blade edge is water cooled. Again, you can hear a squeak, which is just this part over here rubbing. And that little part over here rubbing could probably be fixed by a washer, or it'll just wear out. Again, this is a cheaper, way cheaper unit than the Tormex, so I'm sure that those don't squeal. Couple of problems is that both of these kind of wobble, and it was a combination of a couple of different issues. This side over here wobbles because the screw that it screws onto is smaller than the hole, so this hole can just kind of flop around, and they don't give you anything to center it on there. Now granted, you might be able to make a shim or something to be able to get this to center, so that might solve that problem, which I don't know if the Tormex have that problem or not. This side over here, it seems like the bushings that they use for this hole would center it, but who knows if this stone is actually cut in a perfect circle. I know Tormek makes a surfacing tool that you can buy that goes on here that could flatten and true this up, but that's like a $90, it's a $90 part. So to fix that issue with this stone, and along with the other issues that I don't like, it just isn't worth it for me to fix it. Now granted, if you want to get into something like this, you're probably going to have to pay for the $90 tool to true this wheel up. The other issue is that the bushings that the shaft rides on are plastic, and here they are. What I did is I took these out and I ordered ones off a McMaster car that were bronze. So I put bronze bushings in here, and it took a little bit of fitting because the shaft was just a little bit bigger than I think it was a 5/8 hole in the center of this. So I had to put the shaft on my lathe and knock it down just a little tiny bit to get it to fit, and it fits way better because there was a ton of slop in these. These are way oversized for the 5/8 shaft that's in here. So that did take up some of my slop, which made me happy. So this machine actually runs better than it did from the factory, but it's still not perfect. Again, both of these wheels still kind of wobble when they go. Another issue, well, a good and a bad. On the Tormex and the other versions of this that I've seen, even like the Wen and I think the one that's on Grizzly, it only has a work rest side on one side. So it's like this, and this part isn't on here. And I thought that was kind of weird, considering the fact that you need to use both sides. So why would you want to keep taking this off and turning it around and putting it back down to use the other side? That seemed pretty counterintuitive. So I like the fact that it had the work rest on both sides. The thing that I don't like, and I don't like about any of these systems, is that this stropping wheel is smaller than this wheel. So this is a 10-inch wheel, this is an 8-inch wheel. Why? You know, Tormek or any other companies that are making these, why? Maybe there's a good reason for it. I don't know what it is, because your edge that you're grinding and that you're putting is going to have a 10-inch diameter on it, and then you're going to hit it with an 8-inch diameter stropping wheel. You're not hitting the surface of that grind that you just put on there the same. Seems kind of dumb to me. So that's another thing that I don't particularly care for. Also on this particular unit, and I've looked at the mounting brackets and stuff online from Tormek, and they look a lot better machined than this one is. But the holes that are in here are way bigger than these shafts are, so you can get quite a bit of slop. So you've got to kind of make sure that you're parallel here. Otherwise, if you're off like this, then as you're moving the part back and forth, your grind's going to be off. So you got to make sure that you're parallel here before you tighten these down. And from a knife maker standpoint, I don't really like, and I'm just going to use this Spyderco Salt as an example because I did sharpen this on this system. And I also went off and I bought one of these. This is a Tormek knife jig, because this company doesn't supply any of these types of things. So you got to get it from Tormek anyhow. So again, you might just be better off, if you really like the system, to go ahead and get a Tormek. That's kind of what I'm getting at if you like this. But you can mount your knife up just like this, and then you use your work rest like this. And I don't really like the fact, this is just kind of awkward for me, doing it in this position. And maybe because I'm short, and I'll be honest, I'm short, so this is kind of high up. I don't like doing it this way. Now granted, you can move this to the back, which is how I like doing it, because now this way I can stand on this back side, I can flip this thing around, and I can do it this way, and I can watch the burr forming on this top edge. So I like that part of it. But then you get into the problem where, let's see if I can turn this. It kind of wants to stick. Alright, can we see? Okay. So you're like this, and you're sharpening, okay, and you can see your burr. One problem is that if you don't have like a sharpening choil here on your blade, let me see if I can. Sorry guys, I'm experimenting with lighting and everything to make these videos better. Meanwhile, I'm fumbling here, so I do apologize. There's no sharpening choil right here, so you're running that stone right into the flat here and giving yourself some kind of funky grinds, because you really can't control that much, because you really got to get in there with the stone, and with the stone wobbling a little bit, it's just a little awkward. But so this isn't that bad, okay? But then when you come over here to this side, you've now changed your angle, because you're on a 2-inch or a 8-inch wheel instead of a 10-inch wheel. So now technically you'd have to adjust this to get the same degree angle. And also, you're okay when you're hitting this, when you're doing this side, but you go to flip it over, and now I'm hitting this wheel, this adjustment knob on here. So you can't even strop on this side without changing this. So what I just did was just came up here and ran it across by hand, which is, you know, pretty much completely acceptable. But why? Let's put a bigger wheel on this side again. So and also, like I said, these holes are way bigger than the end of these rods. Now, I had first thought, okay, so if I'm going to keep this thing, one solution to that would be to take this mount off, put a bigger hole in here with the mill, and then put a bushing to take up the space between the bar and the hole. But again, I'll get to the main point why I don't like this thing for a knife maker. So if you're a woodworking guy, you want to be able to sharpen your chisels and that kind of stuff, probably even this cheaper model would work. There's some things obviously that I just showed you that you might want to fix. The bushings, I don't know if it's possible to make a larger wheel on this side, maybe an MDF wheel that they use a lot of times. You might be able to put one of those on this side for polishing. Might even be able to attach a piece of leather to the MDF and a 10-inch wheel. Might be able to solve that problem. Might be able to make these holes a little bit bigger, put a bushing in there. Again, you're having to fix a lot of shit. Or you could probably just get the Tormek, sorry, I'm used to Tormek, and be able to avoid a lot of these issues. The main reason, and I've sharpened a couple of knives off of this to see if I like it, and it does put a pretty decent edge on there. Pretty consistent. You know, it can be a little inconsistent just with trial and error with holding it. Not too bad. Let me see if I got a piece of paper over here. Yeah, see? Not that great. I mean, it'll cut paper, and I probably could have spent a lot more time on it, but it's still kind of not great. If you had a different wheel on here, I know the Tormek versions, you can get a surfacing stone. I don't really know what they call it, but you can change the stone from 220 grit up to 1000 grit. And if I was able to do that on this edge, it probably would be a lot nicer. Now, whether this stone is able to do that or not, I don't know, and I really wasn't going to spend the $50 or $60 on that surfacing stone to find out. If one of you guys know, by all means, leave me a comment, let me know. But here's the main reason why I'm, as a knife maker, I'm not going to use this system. So you got to realize, and most of you might know this, and maybe some of you guys that don't sharpen a lot, maybe you don't. So, little diagram here. I know it sucks. You'll live. So this is your primary grind, okay? And it doesn't really matter whether it's a concave or a flat grind or scanty or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Your edge surface has kind of got three different ways you can sharpen an edge. You can either do a flat, which the flat would be kind of like a sharpening stone, a whetstone, a wicked edge. There's a bunch of those different systems that are all using flat stones like this. So your edge is going to be flat, or a whetstone, your edge is going to be flat. That's one way. Another way is a concave edge, okay? And that is from using something with a radius on it, like this wheel. So this wheel is going to leave a concave edge on there. Another way of doing it is a convex edge. This edge is mostly done, far as well as I'm aware of, like on a slack belt. So if you're using a 1x30 or a 2x72 and you're using the slack belt area of it, that has some flex in there. So your belt is going to flex inward and give you a concave edge, okay? Now, I'm not getting into a discussion of which one's better. I know it's kind of, guys say, well, it's on a microscopic level of the difference between the three as to strengthness. So out of these three, which one do you think would be the strongest edge from preventing from rolling? You would think the convex, because you've got the most amount of material in here to protect the edge from folding over. The next one would be the flat one, because you still have got more material here than you do in the concave. The concave, you're removing some material, so this distance in here is thinner than the other two. Now, granted, it's small. Have I used a lot of these knives to know the difference between a concave and a convex, to know which one wears out faster? No. I'm a fairly new knife maker. I haven't experimented that much, especially with the concave, because I've only sharpened like 3 knives off of this thing. So I can't give you really feedback if that's true, but in theory, I mean, look at it, this is the thinnest one. You would think that it would deform or roll quicker than the other two. So that's one reason why I don't particularly care for this system. The other major reason is that I'm making knives and selling them, okay? So if I was just sharpening my own tools, my own kitchen knives, my own hunting knife, woodworking tools, it wouldn't really it wouldn't matter to me, because I could just come back on this wheel and resharpen it again. So no big deal. So if you're in that category where you're not selling knives and you're just doing this for yourself, then this system might work for you. But for me, my main concern is that most consumers that will be purchasing my knives are not going to have this system. Okay, so this is kind of a rare system to have. Even the Tormek, you know, I'm saying in general, you know, if I sold 100 knives, I could almost guarantee that none of them have one of these. I mean, you know, maybe 1 out of 1,000 guys will have one of these. They're just not that popular. So a more popular way of sharpening is a whetstone. I mean, that's the cheapest, easiest way to sharpen a knife, and has been for thousands of years. The next way would be maybe a guy's got a 1x30 and he sharpens that way, using a belt sander. Or high-end collectors, I know a lot of you guys like the Wicked Edge because they are awesome. Granted, for a knife maker, they're very time-consuming. If you had to sharpen even 5, that'll consume hours of a day. You know, if you had to sharpen 10 knives, that might take you literally a whole day's worth of work sharpening 10 knives. That's not very productive. So that's why I've been looking at other areas and other ways of sharpening, is because this system, is, as much as I love it, just takes way too damn long, and the stones are really expensive. So I'm going to keep this because I still get knives in here every once in a while for mod jobs, or somebody wants me to do a quick anodizing or something and wants me to resharpen it. This is a good way for me to be able to pick and do different angles off of different knives repeatedly. So I could sharpen a Paramilitary 2 off of this. I could sharpen one of my knives and get really good edges off of it. It's just time consuming. So I'm going to keep the Wicked Edge for that purpose. But my main concern is that if most of the consumers that are buying knives don't have this system, then when they go to resharpen that knife, they more than likely have a flat edge sharpening system, whether it be a stone, Wicked Edge, you know, there's a whole bunch of them. Spyderco's got one. So to resharpen this, you're going to end up having to grind a lot of this upper area off to be able to hit the center area, and you're gonna end up having to grind a lot of material away to get to your edge, and that's not ideal for a knife maker. At least theory to me. So if you're a knife maker and you're watching this is kind of a reason why I'm going through this, is that if you're considering one of these systems that's using a round radius wheel, sure, you might be able to get a great edge on it and be shaving sharp and send it out to the consumer, but how is that consumer then going to sharpen it afterwards? I doubt he's going to be able to do that. So either a flat or even a concave, at least you just need to shave a little bit of material off there to get it down to an edge, and you're not weakening it to the point where you've got to come way up here and hit all that off. So that's kind of reason for the video, is I wanted to show you guys this system, some of the inherent things that are wrong just with the design, with when you're buying a cheaper model, the things that you might have to worry about, you know, this thing not fitting, the wheels wobbling, might need to replace your bushings. So, you know, unless you've got another purpose for this, like woodworking, and you also want to sharpen knives, then it might be cool. But even kitchen knife makers, I as much as I like the fact that it's a stone and that it's powered so that you can go quicker and you can get an edge quicker than you can doing whetstones, you're going to leave an edge that's going to be difficult for the end consumer to resharpen. At least that's just my 2 cents. And you know, some guy that's been doing this for 30 years might completely disagree, and that's cool. I'm just kind of throwing this video up to give you guys some food for thought. I am still looking for the perfect, and I don't think there is, perfect sharpening system. The next thing that I'm actually working on is doing a 1x42 a 1x42 unit, which is kind of, sorry, it's kind of actually in the background there. I got off the local off the internet local for practically nothing, that I'm going to try and convert into a knife sharpening system that is a flat grind, easy for guys to redo. It'll be motorized so that it won't take as long as the Wicked Edge, but it'll be slow, you know, not high speed, so I don't have to worry about the edge heating up. Different types of belts so that I can get a really good polished edge. That's kind of what my goals are and what I'm going for. But again, so on this wheeled system, I don't recommend it for everybody. I especially personally don't recommend it for knife makers because of the resharpening issue. But it's up to you guys. Whatever you want to do, you know, it's your call. Just thought I'd help. That might help somebody either decide to buy it if they want it, or decide to buy the Tormek version, which I know is better than this, or go with a different system to sharpen for obvious reasons. But that's it, guys. I've got a couple of more knife sharpening videos that I want to do and get posted, so check those out, subscribe, and talk to you guys later. Thanks.